What I'm telling you is what I've learned from my 40 years of experience is that men need more testosterone. And testosterone is generated in both men and women when you celebrate, appreciate them. Oh, look what a good job you did. I need your help. The fireman who goes into the fire, he's the hero. That's his testosterone shoots way up. This is what, if you need more testosterone, what you need is you need more appreciation, acceptance for who you are, and trust. If you want more estrogen, what you need is someone to care more about you. You're special, you're a priority, someone who understands you. Understanding is penetrating into your feelings and your thoughts and your wishes and wants and needs. And somebody who honors you as much as they honor themselves, or honors you even more than themselves sometimes, prioritizing you. And that's called respect. That's what women need most. We live in a culture that says women should learn to respect men. No, that's the dysfunctional. That's why we're so dysfunctional, is women yielded their own needs to respect men, when really who needs more respect in our society today is women. Not that men don't deserve respect, not that men don't need respect, but when you respect someone, it doesn't make testosterone. When you admire someone, when you appreciate someone, it makes more testosterone. And you can also respect them for their estrogen stimulation. But it's not like, what respect is yielding your needs for the needs of another. You respect your children by getting up in the middle of the night and feeding them. You don't want to feed them. You want to go to bed. You want to sleep. But you honor someone by sacrificing for them. And that's what men, noble men, always respect the family. You know, when the ship's going down, it's women get in the boats first, and it's all men for yourself. You know, this is where we are, where men in the past had learned to respect women. And then we got off track, without a doubt, where women lost respect, and this sexual repression and pushing women down and so forth. And it was just an ignorant time. But today, what this whole women's movement is about is we deserve equality. That means we deserve respect, because when you respect someone, it makes more estrogen. But if you have to fight for that respect, which just happens a lot, what you become is a man to try to get your female needs met. But it's like a strategy doesn't work. If you have to fight for respect, then you're on your male side. What you're looking for is a woman who will respect you, which is why what you want is a man who's pursuing you. They're the ones that will respect you the most. So appreciating, accepting, and trusting, a simplified way of understanding what men need most. So when you go step 2, where you learn to balance your hormones, come back to happiness from a place of fullness, now overflow by giving him what he needs, not doing things for him, but appreciating what he has done for you, what he is doing for you. That's the greatest gift you can give to a man. Then step 4, that's the one we're waiting for, you can ask for support. But when you ask for support, you're not trying to change him, you're expressing a preference rather than a demand. And I can give you the words for how to ask men for support, but if you're coming from a place of saying my happiness is dependent upon you changing, men will resist. Just like if a woman's in a bad mood and a man says, look, get over it. You know, why are you upset about that? You shouldn't feel that way. We're trying to change how you feel. It's not going to make you feel better. And what we're saying to you is that my happiness is depending upon you feeling different. Men should not be that way. Men should be embracing a woman's moods wherever they are, up and down, up and down. That's giving her what she needs to stabilize her hormones, which is showing caring, empathy, understanding, penetrating into her inner psyche, understanding where she is, feeling empathy, honoring her, respecting her, letting her feel equal in terms of opportunity and respect. And that's what we're trying to achieve in the world. But you're not going to get it by fighting men. You're going to get it by loving men. They will give more when men get what they need. And then women go to step 4, which is asking for what they want as a preference. That, when you're in an intimate relationship, and we're talking about intimate relationships here, then a man is free to choose to give you more. Then he changes based upon his choice rather than feeling that I have to change in order to make her happy. It becomes, I want to give her this because I see how it will make her happy. So it's a delicate distinction there. You have to have some wisdom to decide to distinguish between demanding and preference. But if you express a preference to your partner and they're not getting an abundance of love, usually they don't respond. So the idea is how to go through those 4 levels again and again to get more from a man, which means to bring out the best in him, just as I would bring out the best in my wife. And if you're married and you're having a sexual relationship, the best time to express your preferences is after having an orgasm, because a man feels he's getting what he needs.
Okay, so what you said something, I can tell you the words. Can you tell us, can you model really quickly what it might sound like for a woman to ask for something she wanted in a way that a man could respond, assuming we've gone through the 4 steps?
Yes. Now let's look at the words. Give me one request a woman would want. Just let me know. I'll deal with that.
Maybe he could do more around the house.
Okay, let's call it. He doesn't empty the trash. Okay, or he could clean. What would give me a specific? First of all, that's an abstract. I want you to do more around the house. That means nothing to a man. It has to be a specific task that he does and gets rewarded for. So give me a task that would be part of doing more about the house.
He would do the dishes.
All right, that's a big one. So let's say she's doing the dishes and he's not. Already he's been trained that he doesn't have to do the dishes to make you happy. So you're happy and you're doing the dishes, and now you want him to do the dishes. The way you would start is you simply say, oh, honey, I'm really tired tonight. Would you help me? And he'd say, what is it? And he said, would you do the dishes tonight? And he'd grumble a little bit, and you would then go, most women at that point would go, oh, okay, I'll just do it myself, because he grumbles. You have to recognize you're asking him to do a new job. He has to decide whether to do it. Is it necessary? Is it required? I haven't had to do it before. Why do I have to do it now? There's sort of this resistance a man will have to being asked to do more, because he gets the message with a request that, gee, I haven't been doing enough. I work really hard. I'm really tired. I did this whole thing, and now I have to do more. So, and maybe his mother always did the dishes. So he has this idea that women do dishes. There's a lot that has to overcome there. So what you do is you say, honey, I'm really tired tonight. You could actually start with, would you help me with the dishes? See, again, every job, every request, you want to go gently, little progression, little progression. A baby doesn't learn to walk. They start to crawl first. That's normal life. It's trees don't just suddenly make flowers. It takes a season to get there. So everything is slow. Real change is slow. So you basically, oh, I'm really tired tonight. Would you help me? Would you bring over the dishes and wash them and I'll put them in the dryer? Whatever, make a little request. And then when he does it, he experiences a little change and you delight in it. He gets to see, it's like, oh, it's so much help. It feels so good. Men will always respond to what feels good. Then another night you do that again and do that again. And then no big discussion. Your job is this, my job is that. You would just simply say, oh, I'm so tired. Would you do the dishes tonight? And because he's so used to getting rewarded for doing this little thing, then he's happy to do it. But you have to realize a lot of men, when it comes to dishes and housework, have been trained in a culture where men didn't do that. They didn't experience growing up doing that, seeing dad do that. Oh, you have huge advantage if he saw his dad doing it. But if his dad never did it, his part of his training is you don't do that. So you have to gradually adjust to this and be okay with that. Realize there's logic to that rather than the other logic, which is we both have a job. Why am I doing this? You should do it too. That you should do it too attitude is the opposite of accepting where a person is. So it's a gradual movement towards greater intimacy by little requests, rewarding those little requests. Then he gives more and he gives more and he gives more. And let's say you had huge resistance at washing dishes. Then you start with something else, oh my gosh, would you help me by doing this? But it always comes from a thing of he comes home, he's kind of like in his own world, he's in his cave world. And you just say, oh, honey, when you have a chance, would you help me? That's how you introduce it. Honey, when you have some time tonight, would you help me? He's going to go, well, what do you want? What do you want? You go, oh, I'll tell you later. Just let me know when you're available. I just need like 10 minutes. Give him a time limit, give him a little request, and then he says, well, what is it? I want to do it now. Okay, well, only take 10 minutes. He said, okay, what is it? And you say, would you help me put away the dishes? Or would you help me unload the dishes? A specific request, not a general thing. We're making a policy here, a specific request and a reward afterwards. And again, women have to look at their own resistance to that reward afterwards, because she's going to be feeling, look, I've been doing them every night. I didn't ask for a big reward or parade.
Right.
Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. So in a dating situation, like if a woman is feeling frustrated because the man never really plans anything for a date, just as an example,
Great
and
example.
she'd like for him to plan, when he shows up and says, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Women love a man with a plan. So how might she encourage him in that way?
Okay. So that's what men have to learn is women love a man with a plan. And what women have to learn is they have to help him make the plan. So basically on Friday, let's say he says, he comes over Friday night, or he calls and says, oh, what do you want to do tonight? That's the most unromantic thing a man can do, but men don't know that. So what you would do is, since that's what he did, you would accept that's what he did. And while you're together that night, well, let's hang out and let's look at the newspaper and plan what we're going to do next week. That's what you do. If he's going to hang out, okay, we're going to take this time to hang out. We'll sit and watch TV. And during that time, we bring out something and you say, I was looking in the newspaper, I was looking online, and I was thinking next week we could do some really fun stuff. Like we could do this. We could go to this art gallery. We could go to this walk. They're having a walk onto the mountain on that day. The weather's going to be really good. Or we could go, there's this restaurant I heard about. We could have dinner there. So what you do as a woman, your job in making a plan, it's not all up to the man. Okay. Your job is to let him know options that you would like to do and when you'd like to do them. His job is then to pick one of those options and follow through and provide it. So he says, well, will you think about it and plan one of these things? What do you think we should do? You go to him and you say, what do you think we should do? And whatever one he picks, you agree with. It's okay. Will you get the tickets? Will you arrange the tickets? And what should I do? Kind of put it in his hand to organize it. And what happens then is he now owns the date, so that when you're happy on the date, he takes credit for it. His testosterone goes up and your estrogen goes up because you didn't have to organize or plan. But what you had to do is inform him of what you'd like to do. One of the out-of-date idea that women have when it comes to romance is that men should know what you want. Men should do it all on their own. And certainly on a date in the beginning, a man works really hard to think, what can I do to please her or whatever? And he'll do one or two things that he knows work. But after that, he doesn't know what else. It's up to her to let him know the things she'd like to do. It's up to him to pick and provide. And so would you organize that? And maybe what you could do, even when you're saying, would you organize that? I will do this, and would you do that? So you let him know what you'd like him to do. And you can always throw in a little bit of, I'll do this. If it's a picnic on the mountain or going to the mountain play, here you'd say, well, I'll make a lunch for us. Would you get the tickets and organize transportation? So you basically, those are all requests. That's your participation in a date, is to know what you'd like, give him choices. So it's not just what doesn't feel very romantic or good is to say, there's the mountain play this weekend. Will you take me next weekend? Then he's doing you're in charge and you're controlling the whole thing. And it's not really his gift to you. So you always want to give him choices that he picks. So, there's a mountain play this weekend that'll be really fun, or go to the art gallery, or we could go for that walk on the mountain. What do you think we should do? And put it in his hand. And then whatever he says, you're training him now. You go, okay, great idea. Let's do that. Now, let's say you really, really want to go to the mountain play. Well, occasionally you can just control it and do that. But the bottom line is you want to create a context where he experiences taking charge, being responsible, doing things for you, and having it pay off really good. And part of the job there for you, and this is how women unknowingly kill romance, is, she says, oh, let's go to the mountain play. And then you go, oh, that was awful. I didn't really like it. You complain about it. Then he feels like, well, then you figure out everything next time. He just starts giving up the initiative to provide things, because he might say, let's go and do this. And you go on the date and you're just having conversation. Let's say I take you to a restaurant and the food's not that great. It's just conversation for two women going to a restaurant to talk about how bad the food is. There's no problem with that. But on a romantic date, you don't talk about how bad the food is. Your focus as a woman is to talk about what's good about the date. His focus is to provide the date and get the encouragement that he's successful. That's your whole goal on a date, is to give him the message. He took initiative. He should always be appreciated for that. And if you want to talk about, I don't want to go back to that restaurant again, you could do that on another day as a casual comment. But there's something delicate about romantic dates where a woman's sensitivity needs to be not to give negative messages about what's happening, but to be extremely appreciative, accepting. And he's trying to do his best by planning something and doing something. And he's encouraged when he feels, I have the power to make you happy. I'm not saying you have to always be, this whole thing where women have to smile and be happy and all the time. You don't have to smile and be happy all the time. But if it's a romantic date, that's a time to put your best foot forward. And we all know that we can do that. You go for a job interview, you're going to naturally put your best foot forward. That's not the time to complain or talk about, what's not working. You talk about your best self. In an interview, they say, well, what are your most challenging aspects as a person?
Yeah.
What are your weaknesses? You don't tell them your weaknesses. You say, well, I think my weakness is I give too much. I work too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's your weakness. I mean, every interviewer goes, great. That's what I want. Somebody who works too hard for me. But you don't say all your issues, and you try to minimize that. So we have the ability, kind of like a woman's purse. You can pull out all kind of different stuff. It can be there. You don't have to empty the whole thing. So on a romantic date, that's when you focus on being your best, most loving self, your most tolerant self, the most accepting self. And that's where a man will reciprocate in kind by being most considerate, most understanding, most supportive, and so forth. This is where we put on our fancy outfits and go out on something romantic.